Because, for example, if God reveals himself to me tonight, I'm going to be going live tomorrow to everybody in the world. And what I'm going to be saying is, I know you guys are going to hate this. I know I'm going to sound crazy. I am no longer an atheist. God revealed himself to me last night. However, I cannot demonstrate it to any of you. God did not offer me, assuming God didn't offer me anything, God didn't offer me anything that was a valid and sound argument for any of you. There's something that changed within me that is necessarily first-person experience that is absolutely useless for all of you.
Hello, humans. My name is Jay. As always, welcome back, or welcome to a different place, a place where we can talk about our beliefs, but also call them out. I believe you don't choose what you believe, but you can stop those beliefs from harming others. Because if what you believe is going to affect others, you better be able to show a good factual reason. When it comes to the supernatural, there are no experts. Bruh. If there were, we would have schools like Hogwarts. That would be really cool, by the way. And if we stick with the Bible, the experts are not on God, but on man's interpretations of a group of men that say they saw God. So let's do it. As always, remove your heart and question your beliefs.
Bruh. For Isaiah 66, basically what I wanted to ask both of you guys, so in the reading, and we can read it too, I can pull it up on my phone. I believe it talks about the Israelites or the Judeans, one of them coming back from exile, and with them would be Gentiles coming back, and those Gentiles would also be a part of the Levitical priesthood. And for me, I saw an argument the other day about how that relates to the priesthood of the Catholic Church, in that, you know, in our priesthood, you know, you have Gentiles, obviously. So I don't know if that's something that you've ever been privy to, Justin, in that, but I just wanted to hear, like, your opinion.
This is actually a really fair way to start the conversation. It seems Brandon isn't making a claim here. He's asking how he's supposed to understand a passage. And this is usually where interpretation quietly starts doing most of the work. So, hey, let's have some fun and see what Isaiah 66 actually says. Isaiah 66 is talking about people returning from exile, nations coming together, and even outsiders being included in worship. Then what's happening here is a promise about restoration and unity after exile. It's not meant to be a vague prediction about some distant future. And really, I don't think any of the Bible is talking about our time. These people were really writing to themselves and their own situation. And the interesting thing is, when you just read the book, that's what actually makes sense. And if you don't take the book for what it actually says, you're just writing fan fiction.
Bruh.
It's been debated, but I think it's perfectly plausible to read that some of the foreigners are allowed to serve as priests. But it's not a strict reading. You don't have to read it that way. You actually could read it either way.
Nice.
Notice how it suddenly becomes something you can read either way. And once a prophecy can mean anything, it can never really be wrong. And the thing is, these prophecies weren't timeless. They came with expectations and timelines. They were expecting restoration, leadership, and order to follow the exile. But that's not what actually followed in history. And the Bible actually gives us a rule for situations like this. If something claims to be from God and it doesn't happen as stated, it isn't from God.
Bruh.
That standard comes straight from the Bible itself, not from skeptics. So if Isaiah 66 didn't happen as described, the rule tells us how to classify it. By the Bible's own standard, that makes it a false prophecy. And that doesn't mean there's no God. It just means we shouldn't treat this as words spoken directly from God.
After the Babylonian exile, by the way, this wasn't supposed to happen 539 years after the exile. In fact, if you go to Jeremiah, it talks about the ingathering in Jeremiah 29. It says, "For thus saith the Lord, only when Babylon's 70 years are completed will I visit you, and I will fulfill to you my promise and bring you back to this place." And then we can read further in Jeremiah 33, the ingathering and then the Messiah being installed. But all of this was supposed to happen directly after those 70 years expired. And they expired and nothing happened.
I see. So that 70 years was the exile time for the people of Judah when they were in Babylon, correct?
That's right. 605 to 539.
So see, there is a deadline, and that makes sense. Why else have a prophecy? A time passed, the expectation expired, and the outcome never arrived. And what do people do? They just push the line a little further. And once you do that, the claim can survive any outcome. But we've already pushed the line thousands of years. What happens in a million? At some point, that's not prophecy anymore. It's just a moving goalpost. Speaking of moving the goalpost, thanks to you guys, we're almost at 1,000 subscribers. I truly appreciate you questioning your beliefs. If this kind of conversation matters to you, tap your buttons, give them 20, and let's keep questioning our beliefs.